Has anyone ever told you that the most powerful relationship you'll ever have is the relationship you have with yourself? What are your thoughts on your body image? Do you love who you are? These are questions that we want to explore with you today. Hi, I'm Dr. Daphne Bascom, and welcome to the Thrive on Plants podcast. I have with me Coach Tiana Braden. Hi, Tiana.
Hi, Daphne.
And we are here today to talk with you about a topic that has actually come up in several conversations this weekend, and that is body image. Tiana, what conversations have you been having? And as our team expert on a lot of these topics, I want to turn it over to you and let's have a really deep conversation about body image.
Thank you, Daphne. Yeah, I think this is something that comes up so frequently. And oftentimes, I think people think that they're the only ones struggling with
Mm-hmm.
this. And then we start talking more about it and sharing more about it. And there's just so many commonalities that all of us share. So I think that's why it's important to have these conversations. But body image is essentially how we think and perceive and feel about our bodies and ourselves. And I wouldn't say it's a destination that we just get to. It's a practice, it's a journey, and getting to the point where you do feel self-love towards yourself and treating yourself with kindness and respect and honoring what your body needs. It takes time to get to that point, and I think it's so common nowadays to not feel comfortable talking about body image or struggling with it or struggling with self-love. So I'm really excited for this conversation because of it.
Have you struggled with body image at all?
Oh, absolutely. A lot. I wish I can say that it's always like perfect. Even now, it's not. I think, like I said, it's always evolving, and it's something that takes time. But I have struggled a lot throughout my life with different eating disorders, and with eating disorders come a lot of struggles with self love and body image. I grew up as a dancer, and so I think the dancing community is just everything is about your body image, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror in the dance class hours on end every day, and tearing apart every single pose that you do and how your body looks like in certain positions. And I think it's really hard to create a perfectly healthy relationship with it. It's not impossible, but I think it's really hard to get out of that not feeling a little bit scarred from some of the comments or some of the just comparison between other kids or other dancers. So I have struggled a lot with it. And reflecting back through, I turned 31 a couple of days ago, and just reflecting back on, starting dancing at a young age to now, it took me a really long time to just respect my body.
Mm-hmm.
I never was happy with it. When I was thin, I was too thin. When I was curvy, I was too curvy. When I had muscles, I had too much muscle or too little muscle. Like it was never ever enough. And you opened up with a quote. I think I read somewhere like, you've been treating yourself, you've been going through life hating how you look like and not loving yourself. And can you imagine how your life would be if you flip that around and if you start treating yourself with kindness and self and respect? And that really spoke to me a lot because, yeah, it doesn't matter what size I was. I never was happy with myself or respected myself or my body. So I have struggled a lot with it. I think a lot of women that we talk to go through a similar thing.
I would agree. And I think part of it too is our community may look at us as coaches and think that we have never had these issues. And part of making it real for everyone and knowing that you're not alone is that we've been through the same thing. I mean, I know I've shared when I was younger, I was the heavy one in my family. So heard the bubble butt comments and the thunder thighs comments. And those are, and it's funny you mention it because as I was getting dressed today, caught myself looking in the mirror and thinking, ooh, are my thighs bigger, or is my butt a little bit bigger? And you have to stop and you're like, where is this coming from? Um, those, I don't want to say those scars, but those subliminal messages about your body and about what is a perfect or a good body, it's hard to erase it. And even though now I am so comfortable with who I am, I love having female muscle. I love the fact that my thighs are big and powerful. I love the fact that I still, at 50, almost 59, have a curvy butt. If curvy butts are good, that's okay. But those messages, that sometimes that those words in the head don't go away, and you just have to fight them back.
I think that's so powerful what you mentioned, because I think that's the key, right? It's never going to disappear. Maybe sometimes we set like unrealistic expectations that, I'm just going to get to the point where I'm always happy with my body and always confident and always just have this great self-confidence. And then it doesn't work that way. But when you get to that point where you notice yourself having those thoughts, like, why am I bringing this up? Like, no, I am confident. I am happy with myself. And those thoughts can pop up still, but you just don't give them as much power. I think that's the ultimate goal, is not to have a perfect, relationship with your body. It's to just get to the point where you fully accept who you are and honor yourself and acknowledge that those thoughts are going to come up, but that you're not going to give them the power to ruin your day.
And Tiana, what shapes our body image? Where do these messages come from that we as women struggle so much? And I don't want to paint a broad brush and say every woman. I'm sure there's some women who maybe don't have these feelings, but 98% of the women I speak with, this is something that comes up, whether they're 29 or they're 79.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We had, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, a powerful conversation with women from our community about where the messages about their bodies came from. And what came up with a lot of it is how we grew up, whether it's the media that we consumed or even from our family members, usually women in our life. For me, it was my mother. And, she was influenced by the media and by the needing to be thin and needing to diet and needing to be a certain shape and size. And then I'm growing up and seeing all of that. And, it's hard not to pick up on some of those messages. So it's really, I think it's really hard to not be influenced by it. I think maybe some people just are able to naturally get to the point where they don't give those things as much power. But like you said, I agree. I think it's a high percentage of women who struggle with it. And whether it's the comments from our parents about our bodies, about the food that we're putting on our plate, or it's, watching women on TV and being a certain size and shape, or just how women are treated in society when they're a certain size and shape also plays a role. I think all of that plays a huge role. Would you agree on that?
100%. And as you were talking about, I had examples of each one of them that I've had conversations with people about. So what, in your experience, are tips that we can offer to women in our community to cultivate self-love? Because I feel that women beat themselves up more than they bring themselves up.
Absolutely. Well, I think what you mentioned there is the key, because we cannot hate ourselves into change. I think it's okay to want to improve certain aspects of your life. And, for some people, that does mean losing weight, because that's going to improve their health. Oftentimes, sometimes I think working on body image and self-love gets confused with not wanting to improve yourself
correct.
in any way. And that's not true. No. You can love yourself and still want to improve your life and your health, but you cannot do that while you hate yourself. So it's that journey, not the destination thing again. You cannot wait to be a certain shape and size to start loving yourself. Because if you don't start practicing that self-love through the process of working on changing yourself, it's not going to magically just appear once you get to that destination. So I think that's the first step, is to get rid of that mindset of I'll be happy when, or I'll love myself when. It's not going to just magically flip 180, and starting to implement some of the things that can help with self-love right away, no matter where you're at your journey, is going to be the key. One thing to mention is that it is a practice. So like you're doing your workouts and lifting weights, it's a muscle, right? So that like self-love and self-confidence, it's practiced. And like you said, you looked at the mirror and you had those thoughts, and you know then what to do about it. And so I think that's the key, is just learning how to manage it. Couple of the things that I like to mention is that you might not be able to get to the point where you go from I hate my body to I love my body overnight. Like that might seem very fake at the moment, and that's okay. So maybe you're not able to just start saying daily affirmations in the mirror tomorrow, I love my body or I love myself, if you're right now at the point where you hate your body. So I think having a more gradual approach, it's called a thought ladder, where you start with the goal, or start with a current thought, and you work towards the goal thought. So maybe the current thought is I hate my body, but then you can work through I accept my body. I am open to believing that my body can change. I like my body, and then I love my body, right? So that process, it's going to be individualized how long it takes you to get from one point to the other. But if you can start slowly building it up, and then start just gradually adding more and more self-love, whether it's through affirmations, whether it's through writing it in a journal, I think that way it feels a little bit more real, and it doesn't feel so much like fake it till you make it,
Right.
right? You can do it in a little bit more of a gradual way. Do you have any advice on that as far as implementing that process?
Oh, I agree with you. It's not a change that you make in a day. And I think the things that I like to do, I believe in affirmations. I think that what you speak to yourself, you can actually manifest. And so the first thing is, knowing that I always start by knowing that I'm safe and I'm loved, which includes me loving me. And then I actually like Mel Robbins' high five habit. And there are days when after I'm out the shower, I'll look myself in the mirror, I'll give myself a high five, because I'm doing everything I can to be as healthy and fit in this body that I've been given as possible. And there are always going to be challenges. It's never going to be, I'm not trying to be perfect. I am trying to be the best me that I am today. And every time I fuel myself healthfully, I go to the gym, I think positively, those are steps in the right direction.
And that's another big part of it, is focusing on what your body can do for you versus just how it looks like. So focusing more on that performance aspect. I mean, just thinking about these past couple of days, how many amazing things did we get to experience? And none of that had anything to do with the shape of our body,
All
with
body
the size
shapes,
of our,
right.
exactly. And that is so powerful to reflect on that. I think oftentimes we take that for granted, and at the end of the day, movement is a privilege. Not everyone has that privilege, and we have a body that moves, that does amazing things for us. I think reflecting on that frequently will help you when it comes to that slow mindset shift from I hate my body to I love my body. So gratitude towards that is huge. And whether you want to say it in the mirror or, write it in your journal, reflecting on it as frequently as you can. And even when you have those negative thoughts, how can I flip that to what did my body do for me today? I actually love the exercise, if you're struggling with this, of writing a letter to your body. So what would you say to your body? Dear body, I appreciate you so much. I'm grateful for everything you have done for me so far. I know I have not always treated you with kindness and respect, but I am determined to continue treating you the best that I can right now, and then continue evolving. And so putting something like that on paper really helps you with that perspective. And you can do it in the opposite way as well, of writing a letter to yourself from your body. So like, what would your body want to tell you if it could? That can be a helpful exercise to do.
I think those are both. So the thought ladder and the writing a letter to yourself are both great exercises that anyone listening could implement today. I do think the affirmations help. And I'm not a woo-woo person, but I firmly believe that they have helped me through tough times in life, both with body image and many other things.
Absolutely. I also love a bead jar where you can add, so, and you can even implement this for really any habit that you're working on. But if you're working on implementing more of these practices, like affirmation, put a bead in the jar for every day that you did your affirmations, or every day that you did your gratitude journaling, whatever you're implementing. And it starts to stack up, and you notice like, okay, look what I have done for my self-love. I just started one for something that I'm working on this year, and like January was very low. I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel like anything. But I'm hoping that, when it comes to December 31st this year, I'm going to be so proud of all of the beads that I have in my jar. And visualization helps a lot. So I think having some type of representation like that can help a lot. And then I also think, simple things like just wearing the clothes that feels good. You don't need to. I work with a lot of women, and they're always like, oh, I want to fit in my high school jeans.
Why?
And I'm like, why? Throw them away. You don't need them anymore.
What is the goal of fitting into your high school jeans?
Exactly. No point at all. And I think sometimes it can be hard to let go because we have that ideal in our mind. Again, whether it's from the media or from expectations or from our family, like, oh, I should, like, this is what a right size should be. Like, me fitting into this jean would define my worth or define how good I am, and get rid of all of the clothes that doesn't fit you anymore, and wearing what feels comfortable and what looks good on you and what makes you feel good. It's so powerful. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to go and get a whole new closet, but just getting a couple of pieces that you really enjoy. I think it has the power to change your mood during the day. And if you start your day feeling good, it's going to be a little bit easier to then dismiss those thoughts that you mentioned.
Which is why if I really want to feel good, I put on something red, because it's my power color. So regardless of how I may think I feel, even just putting on a red top, a red dress, red socks, it brings me joy. And it just makes me feel better about everything, because I feel stronger, and maybe it's the alter ego coming out when I put on my red anything.
I love that. Yeah. For me, I'm like, if I can wear leggings to an event, that's my type of event. So I'm not gonna,
that's the comfort light.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna squeeze myself into jeans unless I absolutely need to. So wear what makes you feel good throughout the day.
I don't own jeans.
Yeah.
They've never, and I'll be honest, jeans have always been triggering for me, because when I was heavier, I struggled to find jeans that could fit. So to fit my thighs, they didn't fit my waist. It was never a good thing. So I just stopped buying the jeans. Why am I trying to torture myself mentally and physically, trying to fit into a piece of clothing that I'm just trying to do it because everyone says I should wear jeans? I don't need to wear jeans.
Exactly. That's the key. You don't need to do what everyone else is doing, or what media is telling you, or what society is telling you. Do what makes you feel good, and wear things that are going to make it easier for you to cultivate that self-love.
And Tiana, when you're working with your clients, do you advise them at all on what's on their social media feed as it relates to body image?
I think this is really hard because it's hard to escape it. in an ideal world where you can just like block everything and like only have the positive sources, I think that would be ideal. But the reality is you probably are going to experience a lot of maybe things that are maybe not so healthy for your mindset and self-confidence on social media. But there is things that you can do. You can unfollow people. And I was, funny enough, we were talking about things that we did this morning. I did this morning, like in bed, as I was getting ready to attack the day, scrolling Instagram.
Oh, no.
Probably shouldn't do that.
No.
Just trying to wake up a little bit. And, I saw just, these pictures of this girl that I follow, and she's great. And I'm like, but why am I really following her? And just looking at different pictures that she posted on her story, I'm like, this is not how I want to start my day, right? And sometimes that that's not what you're supposed to do, but life is going to teach you the lessons over and over and over. And so, yeah, I am like, nothing against her, but this doesn't help me start my day on the right foot, right? So don't be afraid to unfollow people that are not serving you and fill your, whether it's Instagram feed or Facebook feed, with things that are actually putting you in a good mood. So, for me, it's a lot of quotes, it's a lot of affirmations. Again, it's going to be unavoidable to see those pictures, but as much as you can, filling your social media feed with positive things, I think it helps a lot.
I agree. And I try not to be on social media, just to the extent I have to do it for what we do. But other than that, it's easy to go down a rabbit hole, and it's easy. Self-comparison it does steal your joy, because whether it's your body, whether it's what other people have, you can always feel less than when you're comparing yourself to others, as opposed to just being comfortable where you are now. Part of body image, not just physical body, but one thing that popped up on my Google, how Google sometimes will show images from years ago. Mm-hmm. After my dad died, I lost a lot of my hair. And, there's almost bald Daphne. And now looking at how my hair has grown in, back then that tied into my body image. Because here I am, hair is so worshipped in this culture, in many cultures, and I had not much of it. But it doesn't necessarily serve me to see anything on my feed that doesn't help fuel me in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. That is so interesting. I have a similar experience with hair. After my eating disorder, my hair started falling out. Mm-hmm. Pretty much in chunks, yeah. And because I was eating zero protein and very minimal calories, and it took away my self-confidence while I was already in a very vulnerable space dealing with all of that. And yeah, I actually sometimes just kind of use it more as a positive reminder of what I overcame. And those things don't define us, but it's powerful to reflect on it. And yeah, hair is a big part of it too, I think.
Hair, yeah, we could have a whole conversation on hair. But Tiana, one of the things, so your journey has taken years. I've probably got 30 years on you. So my journey, again, has taken years. How do you encourage people to be patient? That this isn't, and you mentioned it before, you don't step from I hate my body to I love my body in one day. How do you give yourself grace as you make this transition and understand that it is a journey?
I love this question, Daphne. I was actually just talking to one of our amazing clients at this retreat about this. Is I think we put a lot of expectations around having a perfect road to, whether it's a recovery or a perfect journey to self-love. And I think sometimes setting those expectations actually makes it more challenging for us to succeed, because this journey is going to be anything but perfect. It's going to be messy. Like we just mentioned the weak moments that we had this morning, right? And we've been doing this for a while. So releasing that pressure that your path has to be perfect makes this process so much easier, knowing that you're going to have human moments, you're going to have learning moments, and when they do happen, like genuinely take them as a learning opportunity. Like, okay, what did I learn from this? What went well? What didn't go so well? And what do I want to apply differently next time? So releasing the pressure that it's ever going to be a straight line, kind of like when we talk about weight loss, it's not going to be linear. I think that's important to mention, is that you're going to have those moments where you don't feel confident. And I mean, even just thinking about how many people who are in a perfect shape and, skinny and have an ideal body type based on the societal standards, how many of them feel unhappy and not confident, or,
Yep.
Not proud of themselves. So it's really not about that final picture, that like perfect body image, and releasing that helps a lot. And so I think just embracing that it's going to be a process, right? We didn't just come here overnight. These thoughts have been with us for a while. The messages from social media, or from our family, or from the diet culture, they have been part of our life for a really, really long time. And they're probably going to continue to be, right? So we're not going to just get rid of this, but we can learn how to manage it better, and how to notice those thoughts that pop up and know how to redirect them. So giving yourself grace that it's going to be a process is the key.
And I don't know that people know how to do that well, because one of the things that I think I heard a lot from our clients this weekend is, I am not enough. And I feel frequently that I am not enough is partly tied into body image. And how do we get people to separate even looking at their health and fitness journey, success in terms of what I see on the scale, what I see in the mirror, is not the determinant of, are you successful in meeting your goals? But they're so intricately tied together in in our minds, that it's hard to separate. If I see anything over 120 on the scale, I failed. My body's fighting against me. Why are you doing this? How do we get out of that kind of circling, that spiral, that we're always chasing something and not necessarily feeling like, those don't dictate that we are enough.
Right. Well, I think embracing the fact that how we look like is actually the least interesting thing about us, right? I am not going to think about like, oh, Daphne's thighs looked an inch wider this morning. When I think about I'm going to remember the kind conversation we had on this retreat and all of the wonderful moments we shared. That wouldn't even cross my mind, right? But we put so much meaning into it, and we feel like other people are going to judge those details of our body. Would never even cross my mind, right? That thinking about like, oh, her body is looking different today. It's funny when we say that, right? Yeah. It sounds ridiculous, but that's the story that our brain tells us, that, oh,
everyone's noticing.
Yeah, everyone, oh my gosh, everyone's they're noticing that I'm feeling a little bit bloated today, right? No one notices that, no one. And if they do, who cares? It doesn't define your worth.
100%
it doesn't.
agree.
And again, it's a hard shift, but I think sometimes putting it into that perspective, and as funny as it sounds, I think that's helpful. It's the conversations we have, the actions that we do, the acts of service, the community that we build that matters in our life, not what size of jeans that we wear, or, how bloated we were that morning. Like, no one's going to remember that when we are done with this life, they're not going to be talking about like, oh yeah, she could have lost 5 pounds. They're going to remember all of the wonderful things you created and did for them. And, it's a shift, but I think it helps to shift that perspective.
It's a big shift because I think it's hard to get people feeling comfortable saying they love themselves. And partly because it may feel unnatural. It's probably easier to say we love someone else than it is to say, I'm comfortable with who I am and I love myself.
Right. But that goes back to that first quote that you opened up with is, this is the most important relationship that we have. And it's going to reflect on all of the other relationships in our lives. If we hate ourselves and don't treat ourselves kindly, how are we going to treat other people kindly and with respect and love? So it all starts with us. And yeah, I think that's why that thought letter would be powerful, because it's going to feel uncomfortable if you're right now at the point where you feel like my body's not enough or I'm not enough. It's probably not going to be super easy to start saying tomorrow, oh, I love my body,
Yeah.
I'm amazing and I'm powerful. So start slow. Like, I am learning how to accept my body. Some days I feel okay about my body. So build it slowly and gradually, and give yourself grace and meet yourself with compassion every day, knowing that you're going to have those human moments where you just have a hard day and it's harder to cultivate that self-love. That's going to happen, but it's a process, and you don't stop, and you just add another beat to the jar and do your affirmations or journaling or whatever you're working on. Slow and gradual.
So Tiana, what would be 3 things, or maybe even just one thing, that you would encourage anyone who's listening today who's struggling with their body image to put on their goals for the week or the month? I'm trying to keep it simple because there can be many things, but I know having people do one thing that's impactful, what would that be?
I would say start with that letter to your body. That will help you get a little bit more clear on how you feel towards your body. And it's a good starting point. And then from there, you can start implementing affirmations or, gratitude journaling, the bee jar. Start with just getting clear on where you at with our body, because I think a lot of time we're afraid to explore these topics. And if you put it on paper and really just write a letter to your body, I think you can start getting a little bit more clear on where you're at, and then from there you can proceed. And one more thing that I want to add. I know I said one thing.
That's
but
okay.
I will add one more that we haven't mentioned, and it's a big part of what we do here, is having supportive people and community around you. A lot of the conversations that I had these past couple of days, it's funny because people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one struggling with this, or no one else has thoughts about food, or no one else is questioning about how their body looks like today. And as a coach, I have those conversations daily. So for me, it's really interesting to see how it's not something that's often talked about or discussed. And I get it, because it's vulnerable, it can be shameful, it's hard to talk about these things. But having a community of people where you can openly discuss this with, it is so powerful to just know that you're not alone. And I think that's the most valuable part of our community, is how open and willing to share everyone is. And then we get to see, like, okay, I'm not alone. I don't have to go through this alone. I have support, and other people know what I'm going through. The worst thing is feeling like you're alone and feeling like no one else understands you.
Feeling different. Yeah. Or less than. I 100% agree. And which is why this podcast in this topic is important, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I don't know that I hear people talking about body image that often, and it can be a huge impediment for people, for women in particular, as they're trying to navigate their journey to health. And I'm saying health, not to a specific body weight or a specific number, because you do have to love yourself in a way. You have to be being able to give yourself that high five in the mirror and say, damn, you're good. It's worth it.
It's so worth it. Yeah. And just again, reflecting on all of the amazing things your body does for you. That is so, so, so powerful.
Well, Tiana, thank you. Thanks for kicking off this conversation. I've had a lot of conversations this weekend with women too around these topics and continuing to explore not just our body image, but how we fuel our body, our mindset around our body. Those are conversations that will be coming. And I think that they're important conversations that we need to have and let everyone know that you are not alone.
Exactly. Thank you, Daphne. I think this is a really important topic to discuss, and I'm glad that we're talking about it and helping people not feel like they're the only one going through it.
And I hope you enjoyed this conversation also. Know, number one, you are not alone. Know that there's a whole community of plant-based women just like you who are here to lift you up, to celebrate with you, and also to hold you accountable for trying to meet your goals. If you'd like to become part of this thriving community, please go to thriveonplantslife.com, where you will learn how to thrive on plants and live with purpose. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Be well. The content provided in this podcast is intended solely for informational and educational purposes. It's not designed to replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While I'm a doctor, I'm not your doctor. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health, medical conditions, or treatments. Our goal is to provide accurate and up-to-date information. The discussions and views shared on this podcast reflect the opinions of the host and guest, and they may not align with your unique health needs. Decisions related to your health and wellness should be made in consultation with your healthcare team because they understand your specific circumstances. Thanks for joining us on this journey to thrive on plants, and I hope you enjoy the future episodes.